What is going on, guys? This is Michael Williams from Cartoon Universe, and I recently watched the Miraculous episode, Timetagger. I know I'm super late to the party, but wow, that episode was actually pretty nuts. There's a lot of time travel shenanigans, and it left a lot of different questions for me as I was watching it. There was a lot of huge, gigantic implications for all the characters and the series as a whole, and just the future of how this arc is going to go down. So here are my top 10 questions in no particular order. These are just some that I came up with off the top of my head that just things that I needed answers to immediately after watching this episode. Shout out to Miraculous. They've had a good few episodes lately. They've been moving stuff along. Hopefully they keep on with the streak, but time will tell. Either way, let's get into it. So obviously the first big one is, who is the new Hawkmoth? And this could go to a lot of different people. It could possibly go to Natalie, but I think most people are clamoring for Lila to be the new Hawkmoth. She's kind of grooming her to be a villain. She's already kind of a villain naturally without Gabriel even having to try. So she would make a lot of sense. But the question is, why is she Hawkmoth? Why does she become Hawkmoth? Does she really become his pupil of sorts? And she's doing it as sort of kind of getting the torch passed to her. Does Gabriel end up dying and she does it for revenge and to keep his name alive? It would make a lot of sense given that Lila is very much alone. Her mother doesn't really seem to be too involved in her life. Don't know where her dad is. So she's very much alone, which kind of caused her to be this way in the first place. So having Gabriel / Hawkmoth come to her and kind of mentor her and be sort of a father parental figure for her, that would make a lot of sense. He'd be sort of like a reverse Master Fu, and she'd probably be very easily manipulated because of her lack of parental guidance in her life. Now, the other thing I'm wondering is why Lila was babysitting for Nino and Alia as they left. I mean, I get that it seems like she's symbolizing that she is the new Hawkmoth. This seems to be a big hint because we saw that Chris was actually the akumatized villain in this episode, and she's literally sitting there sort of teaching Chris about stuff. So it seems like that's kind of like a parallel of sorts, that she will become Hawkmoth and Chris will become one of her akumatized victims. But from a character standpoint, why would Nino and Alia get Lila to babysit? That was just a very weird choice. This doesn't really affect the plot in any major way, but does this indicate somehow that Alia and Nino are bad or gonna backstab Marionette or something? I don't know. They know what Lila is about. They know her deal, and Lila doesn't even like them. So I don't know why she was there. Maybe the writers just didn't think about it, or maybe there's some other nefarious reason that wasn't necessarily well established that we will find out later. I don't know. I found it very strange that she was the one chosen of all people when Marionette offered in the first place. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. That was a very weird choice. Now, after Gabriel finds out that he will no longer be Hawkmoth in the future, he kind of breaks down. He's very sad. That it means he failed and he didn't succeed. But Natalie says maybe he does succeed. Maybe it means the fact that he's not Hawkmoth is a good sign. But how would that be? I mean, I don't think that's really possible. If Ladybug and Cat Noir are still a thing in the future, I don't really see how he could have succeeded. The whole point is him trying to take their Miraculous. That's what him succeeding means, unless there's some other way for him to succeed that they haven't discovered yet, and they do that later on. And this means that Ladybug and Cat Noir don't necessarily need their Miraculous anymore. Or maybe this means Gabriel will actually turn into a good guy and he'll work with Ladybug and Cat Noir to get his ultimate goal, to bring Emily back, and everything will be peachy keen. But now there's a new Hawkmoth because Lila wants to be evil. She wants revenge. She hates Ladybug. She hates Cat Noir, and she hates her life. So I think this is a pretty interesting way this could go, because considering that Ladybug and Cat Noir are still around, and considering that Natalie's hinting that he may actually still succeed, this says to me that maybe he succeeds, but he does it in a way that's, legal. Now, how does Timetagger know for sure that it's a different Hawkmoth? The only way that this would be is if Gabriel actually gets exposed as Hawkmoth eventually, because if we go back throughout the history of the show, no one actually knows who anyone is unless they say or transform in front of them, even when it's really, really obvious in the case of Ladybug and Cat Noir. So I'm guessing that he would either A, have to know who the previous Hawkmoth was, and B, maybe know that the new Hawkmoth is different. We do know that they are able to pick up different features, like when Chloe was pretending to be Ladybug once, they stated that her hair was different, so they are able to pick up features. So if Lila does end up being Hawkmoth, she's clearly a female. Old Hawkmoth was clearly a grown man. So there would be a big difference there. So maybe that's how. Now, this is less of a question, but really just a cool Easter egg. It basically shows that we're going to get a much more expanded universe in the future of Miraculous. Whether we'll see this on the show, please show this on the show. We don't know, but we have aliens, we have interdimensional beings, we have magical people with evil sisters. I mean, it was insane when she was going through the list of enemies that future Ladybug and Cat Noir ended up defeating. So I hope we get this soon. I don't want to be spending so much time on akumatized villains, and they actually kind of joked about it this episode that they that they got Pigeon Man 24 times already. Cat Noir and Ladybug are just like, I don't care, this is easy, GG's, like I'm done with this. So they kind of referenced that we have a lot of akumatized villains, we're reusing a lot of akumatized villains, so maybe it was like kind of a twofer, if you will, where they make a little joke about all the akumatized villains getting used all the time, and they also give us a little hint that there's going to be other different threats later on in the future. Now, another question I had, and this is probably me overthinking it, but Cat Noir in the future doesn't actually say anything. If we listen to future Ladybug, it's clearly Christine DeVee, who's a voice actress of Marionette. It's clearly an older Marionette. But we don't hear anything from Cat Noir, which is interesting. Now, it's probably still the same Cat Noir, but theoretically, it's possible that it's a different person entirely and just has similar features. Maybe it's Felix, for example. That'd be pretty interesting. I don't know. I can't really think of too much of a reason for that. Maybe Adrian becomes the next Hawkmoth instead in the future, and he takes the mantle of a villain and someone else takes his place as Cat Noir. That'd be pretty crazy. I don't think they're gonna go there, but that would be pretty wild, pretty wild. Now, a big question is, will we actually get a time skip, like a permanent or at least long-term time skip, maybe some sort of sequel series like Naruto Shippuden? There was a tweet a little while back that said we will see them aged up, and we technically did see them aged up in this episode, but we didn't literally get to see them. I'm hoping we get more of a significant flash forward eventually, or we actually could get a sequel series where we get to see some of this bigger universe and some of the things that have developed, some sort of time skip after a major event in the series. I don't know, just a thought, but I don't want to really see her defeat like Dr. Sadness and all the other people that were named. I don't think we need to see that on screen because now we kind of just know what happens. But I would like to see some other stuff kind of similar to it and kind of see what happens in the future, maybe something a little darker with Ladybug and Cat Noir. I think that'd be really cool. And that just kind of brings the question of what does this really mean for the series? Because now we sort of know that for many years, Ladybug and Cat Noir, aka Marionette and Adrian, kind of just stay in their same place being heroes and whatnot. And now we know that Gabriel ends up not being Hawkmoth, which is a big thing, but I feel like we almost need a time skip at this point because we need to know what happens. There's no conclusion here, really. I would imagine a show like this would have more of a solid conclusion. I wouldn't necessarily expect Ladybug and Cat Noir to stop being superheroes, but I would expect there to not be a Hawkmoth at the end of the series. But granted, we still don't know what's going on with the other Miraculouses, what's going on with Master Fu. So there are still more little tidbits that we can learn about that we still did not learn from this episode, but it's just kind of a weird thing that they're doing here. And then there's a question of Adrian and Marionette's relationship. It was stated that their relationship kind of ended up all over the place. It seems like it's kind of hard to tell what she meant by that. Again, if Adrian does end up becoming Hawkmoth and they somehow find out Adrian used to be Cat Noir but is now Hawkmoth, that could explain things, may make it very overly complicated. But other than that, it seems like we have kind of definitive confirmation that they're not getting together, which is strange because it definitely seemed like that was the end game for this series. So it's weird that now they're kind of making it ambiguous and having them seem like they're on this weird off and on thing in the future. It's just kind of a weird thing I wouldn't have expected for this show. But again, we may get a time skip, so we may actually see past that point. And then of course there's the question of, is the future actually set in stone? Because we've had it stated a couple times in this episode that the future is not written yet. Anything could possibly happen. Cat Noir said this when relating to Ladybug and his relationship, and Gabriel was told this by Natalie after he was kind of frustrated that ended up now becoming Hawkmoth. So they're kind of hinting at the future not necessarily being concrete, which is sort of confusing considering it definitely seemed like it was, considering everything that happened. Everything happened exactly the way that it was supposed to happen. But if that's not the case, are they doing alternate timeline stuff where one little change changes the course of history and it ends up changing the future? So the future that they were just visited by was actually an alternate future that ends up getting changed later? Or are they doing like a Samurai Jack, which I kind of hope they didn't. If you don't remember Samurai Jack, there was a portal, there was a guardian that was guarding the portal, and it kind of hinted that Samurai Jack would win, and he had this beard and he was gonna slay Aku in the future. But it seemed like they kind of just tossed that out once the series actually finished, that he was just straight up gone, the guardian was gone, and the time portal was destroyed and all that. So it basically seemed as if they threw that away without explanation. I'm hoping the same thing doesn't happen here. It seems like they have a little bit more of a plan in mind, but so did Samurai Jack, granted. So I'm hoping they don't just throw this away and just say, oh, well, it just didn't happen. They went a different route with the timeline. I kind of hope they don't do that. I hope they really do have some of the things that they mentioned come to fruition, but we'll have to wait and see. But what do you guys think is going to happen with this? Who do you think the new Hawkmoth is? What do you think is going on with Ladybug and Cat Noir's relationship? Are we gonna get a time skip? Like, how does all this tie into the overall series? Definitely curious what you think. Let us know in the comments down below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell for more cartoon and miraculous goodness. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I've been Michael Williams. You've watched Cartoon Universe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.